Living in a car isn't actually bad. You can make a bed in it. It locks. It has climate control. It's mobile. All other required services can be exported to basic memberships in the area. Mail can go to a P.O. box. You can use a cooler as a small fridge. And you don't shell out $1,000 or more a month to slumlords who couldn't care less if you died tomorrow. Definitely not a good way to live. Been there. 10/10 would not recommend. What you really need to live that way is a motorhome. It really is the bare minimum way to live a mobile life. The ability to store plenty of water, sewage and power is the bare minimum of comfort. I know firsthand. Lived in a truck for a year. Sucked. Live in RV now. It's not so easy in summer. Homelessness even in a car isn't as easy as it seems. Can't a guy drink a few beers in his own home? Sir, this is a Wendy's parking lot. I like shitting in a toilet personally. Okay, tell me that again after you try shitting in a Walmart plastic bag at 3 a.m. hunched over in a Chrysler Pacifica. Whenever my wife and I hit a rough patch, I'm ready to go live in my truck. Fortunately for me, I would have a safe place to park. My job also has a gym and showers and is 24 hours. I actually work night shift. My parking pass on my truck means they won't fuck with me no matter what. Without this, I think living in a car would suck. Trying to find safe places to sleep, shit, etc. It's amazing how nice something can be when you have the choice about whether you use it or not. This doesn't sound like it was written by someone who either is or has had to live in a car for an extended period of time. I've done it. It isn't actually good either. Not feasible over the long term. Are you homeless or living in a car? Have you been homeless yourself? Just curious. It has climate control. You plan on running the engine the entire time you're in there? Definitely unpopular. Good job. If it's your choice, sure, maybe okay, but we shouldn't normalize it. If you showed this to somebody living in 1980, they would think we lost the Cold War. If you showed it to somebody living in 1942, they would think we lost World War II. I know someone who lived in his car for a decade and has no plan on leaving. You could be mates. Bet a man posted this. Living in a car for a woman is very too extremely risky. It's a small bed. Windows break, so lol at those locks. You need to keep the car running for climate control, which will cost you gas and or the electric in your car will get dried out. Memberships mean more money and lack of privacy because you'd be depending on those facilities to always be available at your convenience, and they're not. You need an address for a job. And not everyone lives under a slumlord. Try again. Ignoring the safety element. OP isn't wrong if it's done well. The tricky part is finding a place to park where you can actually rest without breaking the law. Guessing the OP doesn't live in one. You can't just leave your car running all day and night though. In Canada, you'd probably freeze to death, and in the summer you'd overheat. Have you lived in a car? I'd only recommend if you live in a super expensive city. But if you can live in a car, you're better off moving to somewhere cheaper to live anyways. Fun way to travel. Bad way to live. I did it in the early 90s. Anything was better than living with an abusive asshole spouse. Only a few weeks. I'm the better for it. Have you lived in a car before? Tried it for a few weeks in high school. Not fun. Are you speaking from experience? Our truck campers agrees with this. Do you live in a car? Or is this just an assumption? Thinking about it is one thing. Doing it is another. It's rough. Even with all The amenities you can fit in a car. I lived in a van 2021-2022. A lot of not so great experiences. That being said, I moved into my first apartment and I already miss my van. People are awful and I miss being able to just drive away from them. I do enjoy not using public bathrooms, though. Climate control. Yes. You can blow cold hot air as you run your combustion engine and burn copious amounts of fuel, polluting the surrounding area. No space for belongings. Very little security being parked in public all the time. Car locks will do nothing if someone wants in. No sanitary restroom shower at your disposal. Fitting a bed in a car is very tight unless you have like a van or something. Climate control only works while running the car, which isn't possible all night every night. Which brings up, how do you run the fridge 24/7? You'll end up with a dead battery non-stop. I'm just not seeing it. Doable, yes. Nice lifestyle, no way. Living in an RV or motorhome is more reasonable than just a car. We convinced people that renting forever was normal 30 years ago. Is this what's next? Op has 100 never lived in a car. This is just wrong? You left out running water, a toilet and food? Homeless shelters are actually not that bad if you're not completely destitute. Go to Craigslist and find a roommate for $200 a month. Or move back in with your parents and stop doing what got you kicked out. It's glorifying homelessness. This is such a disrespectful fad. There's people who have to live in cars BC. They can't afford basic necessities and are fortunate enough to have a shelter. Then there's millennials and Gen Z who see someone on TikTok doing it and now it's cool. Be glad and grateful for what you have. There's people who would do anything to have a bedroom or a simple studio apartment. You're 100 living in your car right now and trying to convince yourself it isn't bad while you're in this tough situation. Mate, it's awful. And I hope you can overcome this. Sure, and what about washrooms and PPL sleeping comfortably unless you are like 5'5"? WTF. For people of a third world country like me, we wouldn't even consider living in a car as being homeless. Holy shit. I wish that was being homeless around here. So are you living in your car? Or have you? 'Cause I have a friend who had to live in her car for months and she didn't find it nearly so enjoyable. Also, where do you bathe when living in your car? Agreed. I did it for a while before I got married and it was great. Would definitely do it again if I could ever get my wife on board. Okay, so I lived in my car for about 6 months and the only saving grace was a campground close by that had showers and restrooms and also had potable water and power at the campsites. I like TV, and a real bed, and cooking in a kitchen, and shitting in a toilet. All this to say I definitely disagree. Also, I have a dog. You see, I think a lot of people agree with you to an extent, Op. The issue is that the people in power want you in a home of some sort so they can take your money through rents and or taxes. Gotta remember, the only truly free people in America are the homeless, and you see how those folks get treated all the time. I would think you would be bumming showers all the time. That would be the deal breaker besides other things like clean, private toilet time. I can't sleep in car, period. Do all people just assume all landlords are some rich evil corporate monsters or something? I own one rental property and I would consider myself far from rich. I slept in my car one night. It was horrible. I woke up in the middle night cramped up in the back seat and had a panic attack. But I am 6'1" and my car is a 2003 Honda X Coupe. That being said, I've been thinking of buying a box truck and converting it into a home. You can find box trucks for under $5,000 here in Charleston.